Hello everyone, and welcome to the Saiyan What Ifs. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku was the Saiyan who carried all quirks with Deku, He Limitless Hero, Goku x Momo Yaoyorozu x Android 18, MHA x Dragon Ball. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Worlds Collide. The morning sun cast long shadows across UA High School's immaculate grounds as Goku stretched his arms toward the sky, tail swishing behind him with barely contained excitement. Unlike the other students filtering through the massive gates, the wild-haired teen had arrived 3 hours early, not for extra study, but for his personal training regimen. His muscles still hummed pleasantly from the 1,000 push-ups he'd completed before dawn. Another day, another chance to get stronger, he murmured to himself, rolling his shoulders. Oku's uniform hung slightly loose despite the best efforts of UA's support department to accommodate his muscular frame. The standard issue jacket remained unbuttoned, revealing a blue compression shirt underneath that helped regulate his Saiyan body temperature, always running several degrees hotter than his human classmates. As he approached the main building, a familiar voice called out, "Goku, you're early again." Midoriya Izuku jogged toward him, his green hair bouncing with each step, notebook clutched tightly in one hand. Unlike Goku's casual confidence, Midoriya moved with calculated precision, each step measured as if constantly analyzing his own movements. "Morning, Deku." Goku grinned, the nickname slipping out naturally. "Been here since 4, couldn't sleep thinking about combat training today." Midoriya shook his head with a smile. "You're the only person I know who gets this excited about Aizawa-sensei trying to erase our quirks." "That's the best part." Goku's eyes lit up. "Having to rely on just my base strength and speed, it's like wearing training weights for my quirk." Midoriya pulled out his notebook, already flipping to a fresh page. "Speaking of which, I've been thinking about how your Saiyan physiology interacts with One for All. The energy multiplication factor must be exponential rather than additive, which would explain why." "Whoa, slow down." Goku laughed, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Save the analysis for after breakfast. Yeah, I'm starving." The mention of food momentarily derailed Midoriya's scientific inquiry. "You just ate that entire protein platter at the station. I watched you." "That was just a snack," Goku said with complete seriousness. "You know my metabolism burns through calories like nobody's business." They walked together toward the cafeteria, an odd pair that somehow made perfect sense. Goku, the Saiyan who carried All Might's legacy through One for All, whose alien biology multiplied the quirk's potential beyond anything seen before. And beside him, Midoriya, once quirkless, now known as the Limitless Hero for his groundbreaking work in quirk science and his ability to push beyond conventional limitations through sheer analytical brilliance. The cafeteria buzzed with early morning activity as staff prepared for the day. Lunch Rush spotted Goku and immediately began pulling additional ingredients from storage, a routine they'd established during Goku's first week when he'd cleaned out half the kitchen's inventory in one sitting. "The usual, young son," the chef hero called. "Yes, please," Goku replied enthusiastically, already sliding into his designated table, reinforced after he'd accidentally broken 2 during his first month. Midoriya set his notebook down, green eyes scanning. The pages filled with diagrams and observations. "I've been meaning to ask, have you noticed any changes in your control lately?" All Might mentioned that around this stage, previous holders experience a sort of resonance effect with their original quirks. Goku swallowed a mouthful of rice before answering. "Not exactly resonance, but..." He lowered his voice, conscious of the gradually filling cafeteria. "Sometimes when I'm pushing One for All to its limits, I feel something else stirring, like there's another power trying to break through." "Your Saiyan potential," Goku shrugged. "Maybe. All I know is it feels primal, raw, different from One for All's energy signature." Before Midoriya could press further, a shadow fell across their table. Yaoyorozu Momo stood with perfect posture, her long black ponytail cascading over one shoulder. Unlike many of their classmates who adopted casual stances, Yaoyorozu carried herself with the composed dignity of her upbringing, back straight, chin slightly elevated. Hands clasped neatly before her. "Good morning, Midoriya-san, Sun-san," she greeted them formally. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. Midoriya quickly moved his notebook. Please, join us. Goku glanced up from his mountain of food, giving her a warm smile. Morning, Yaoyorozu. And just Goku is fine. I've told you that like 50 times now. A faint blush colored her cheeks, barely noticeable against her pale complexion. It seems improper, but, if you insist, Goku-san. She settled across from them, producing a small bento box with practiced efficiency. Goku had always been fascinated by Yaoyorozu's quirk, creation, and the methodical way she approached everything from combat to breakfast. While he relied on instinct and raw power, she calculated every action with precision. I've been reviewing yesterday's joint training session, she said, delicately opening her bento. Your quirk adaptation rate is truly remarkable, Goku-san. The way you incorporated Uraraka's zero-gravity techniques into your fighting style after observing her for just minutes, it's unprecedented. Goku scratched the back of his head, a habit that emerged whenever he received praise. It's not that impressive. I've always been able to pick up techniques quickly, even before One for All. You're too modest, Yaoyorozu insisted. Most heroes spend months integrating observed techniques. You do it instantaneously. Midoriya's eyes gleamed with analytical excitement. It's one of the most fascinating aspects of Goku's quirk application. He doesn't just mimic techniques, he internalizes and improves them. Remember how he modified Kaminari's discharge pattern to focus the electrical current? That was mostly instinct, Goku admitted between bites. When you grow up training every day like I did, your body just knows what feels right in battle. Yaoyorozu watched him with undisguised fascination. Unlike many of their classmates who saw Goku as simply a powerhouse, she recognized the nuanced intelligence behind his combat intuition. It wasn't book smarts like hers or analytical brilliance like Midoriya's, but something equally valuable, a perfect kinesthetic understanding of force, momentum, and energy. The practical exam today should be interesting, she said, carefully selecting a piece of tamagoyaki with her chopsticks. Principal Nezu mentioned incorporating multiple environment shifts to test adaptation. Goku's eyes lit up. Awesome. Fighting in different terrains is always a good challenge. You realize most people would be stressed about that, not excited. Midoriya pointed out with a grin. Where's the fun in easy tests? Goku laughed. Their conversation continued as the cafeteria filled around them, the noise level rising with each arriving student. Goku, now on his fourth plate, was explaining a new technique he'd been developing when the building's emergency lights suddenly flashed red. The automated security system's voice echoed through the speakers. Alert! Villain incursion detected in training ground beta. All students return to designated safe zones. Pro Heroes and third-year response team to Sector 4 immediately. Goku was on his feet before the announcement finished, eyes meeting Midoriya's. Without a word, both moved toward the exit. Wait, Yaoyorozu called, rising gracefully despite her urgency. We're supposed to report to safe zones. Goku paused, turning back with an expression she rarely saw, absolute seriousness replacing his usual carefree demeanor. Training ground beta is where the first ears are having early quirk assessment today. If we wait for the pros to mobilize. Understanding dawned on Yaoyorozu's face. She nodded once, decision made. I'm coming with you. It's against protocol, Midoriya warned. Though he was already calculating the fastest route. So is what you two are planning, she countered, creating a small communication device from her palm with barely a thought. At least with me, we'll have tactical communication with the school's security system. Goku's serious expression broke into a genuine smile. That's why you're the smartest person I know, Yaoyorozu. The three moved swiftly through the now crowded hallways, dodging the flow of students heading in the opposite direction. When they reached a side exit, Goku placed a hand on each of his companion's shoulders. Hold tight, he instructed. This might feel weird if you're not used to it. Before either could respond, the world blurred around them. Goku's one-for-all enhanced speed carried them across the campus in seconds. The landscape smearing into streaks of color. When they stopped at the edge of training ground beta, Midoriya staggered slightly while Yaoyorozu remained perfectly balanced. Having created small stabilizers on her shoes during transit, the training ground, normally an urban simulation area, was in chaos. Several buildings showed significant damage, and smoke billowed from a collapsed structure to the north. In the central plaza, a group of first-year students huddled behind a hastily created barrier of ice. Clearly Todoroki's work, though the dual quirk user was nowhere in sight. 3 villains, Midoriya assessed instantly, eyes scanning the scene. One with some kind of corrosive quirk based on the melted infrastructure, another with enhanced strength given the impact patterns, and the third controls metal. Goku finished, pointing to where streetlights and railings had been twisted into weapons. I can feel their energy signatures. Yaoyorozu pressed the communication device to her ear. Security system reports pros are 4 minutes out. Response team is engaged with another threat at the main gate. This was a coordinated attack. 4 minutes is too long, Goku said, eyes tracking the villain with the corrosive quirk as she advanced on the student shelter. The acid user is their leader, she's directing the others. Deku, can you evacuate the students? Yaoyorozu and I will engage and contain. On it, Midoriya nodded, green electricity already crackling around him as he activated his own unique quirk enhancement systems, the culmination of years studying how to overcome human limitations. Goku turned to Yaoyorozu. I need capture gear and something to neutralize acid. Without hesitation, her skin glowed as atoms rearranged themselves into matter. From her arms emerged specialized carbon fiber restraints and a canister of neutralizing compound. The restraints can withstand 20 tons of force. The compound is basic Ca. LCIUM hydroxide, it should neutralize most acid quirks. Perfect, Goku grinned, his tail tightening around his waist, a sign he was preparing for serious combat. Let's go. They moved in perfect synchronization, a testament to countless joint training sessions. Yaoyorozu circled right while Goku took the direct approach, drawing the villain's attention with a controlled burst of one for all that cracked the pavement beneath his feet. The metal-controlling villain reacted first, sending sharpened spears of former handrails hurtling toward Goku. With casual ease, he caught one mid-flight, others embedding in the ground where he'd stood a split second earlier. Is that all you've got? Goku called, twirling the metal spear. I was hoping for a challenge. The taunt had its intended effect, drawing all 3 villains' focus away from the students as Midoriya reached their position. The acid user snarled, her skin glistening with corrosive secretions. The Saiyan brat, she hissed, recognition flashing in her eyes. Perfect. The boss will pay extra for your quirk. Goku's expression hardened. Another quirk harvester. You guys never learn. The ground shook as the strength Enhanced villain, a mountain of a man with steel-reinforced gloves, charged forward. Goku stood his ground, channeling just 15% of One for All's power, enough to match the villain without revealing his full capabilities. Their collision sent shockwaves across the training ground. The villain's fist connected with Goku's forearm, the impact creating a thunderclap that shattered nearby windows. For a moment, they remained locked in position, raw strength against controlled power. You're holding back, the villain growled, muscles straining. Goku smiled. So are you. With a sudden twist, he redirected the villain's momentum, sending him tumbling into a controlled roll that ended with him facing the metal controller. The momentary confusion was all Yaoyorozu needed. She had circled behind and launched specialized restraint darts from a launcher she'd created. They expanded midair, wrapping around the metal controller before he could react. Nicely done, Goku called, genuine admiration in his voice. Yaoyorozu allowed herself a brief smile before creating a shield as acid splashed toward her. The specialized ceramic hissed but held against the corrosive attack. Focus on the acid user, she commanded, already producing specialized gloves to handle her melting shield. I'll secure the second villain. Goku nodded, turning his attention to the leader. She was more cautious now, keeping her distance while firing globules of acid that melted everything they touched. With One for All enhancing his reflexes, Goku dodged each attack with millimeters to spare, steadily closing the distance between them. You're fast, she acknowledged, backing toward a damaged building. But how's your quirk against this? She slammed her palm against the structure's already compromised support column. Acid ate through the remaining material in seconds, sending tons of concrete and steel tumbling down, not toward Goku, but toward where Midoriya was guiding students to safety. Without hesitation, Goku channeled 45% of One for All through his body, the green-tinged energy crackling across his skin as he launched himself toward the falling debris. Time seemed to slow as his enhanced perception processed every falling fragment, calculating trajectories and impact points. Detroit Smash, he called, driving his fist upward with controlled force. The resulting air pressure didn't tear the debris as All Mights might have. Instead, Goku had calibrated the exact force needed to redirect the largest pieces while breaking others into manageable chunks. As the concrete rained down in a controlled pattern away from the evacuation route, he caught two steel beams that would have caused casualties, the metal groaning under the strain of his grip. "Everyone okay?" he called, dropping the beams once certain of the students' safety. "Clear," Midoriya confirmed, already leading the last group toward the exit. Goku turned back to find the acid villain preparing another attack, this one aimed directly at Yaoyorozu as she secured the strength-enhanced villain. Something shifted in Goku's normally cheerful expression, his eyes hardening as he channeled 60% of One for All, more than he typically used in training. He moved faster than most eyes could track, appearing directly in the villain's path, palm outstretched to catch the acid splash meant for his classmate. The corrosive liquid hit his hand, immediately eating through skin. The villain's triumphant smile vanished as Goku didn't flinch, didn't cry out, simply stared at her with calm determination as his flesh sizzled. "That was meant for my friend," he said quietly, a dangerous edge to his normally cheerful voice. "Not a good idea." Before she could retreat, Goku closed the remaining distance. Instead of striking her, he placed his uninjured hand on her shoulder, a gesture that confused the villain momentarily, just long enough for Yaoyorozu's neutralizing compound to hit her directly from behind, instantly earning the acid secreting from her skin into harmless paste. The villain screamed in frustration, attempting to break free, only to find herself unable to move. Goku's grip, while gentle-looking, effectively immobilized her. "What did you do to my quirk?" she demanded, panic rising in her voice. Goku didn't answer, his attention suddenly elsewhere. His eyes had widened slightly, head tilted as if listening to something only he could hear. Beneath his skin, energy patterns shifted, One for All's familiar green glow taking on a subtle purple tinge where his hand connected with the villain. Yaoyorozu approached cautiously, creating medical bandages for Goku's injured hand. "Are you all right? Your energy signature is fluctuating." "I'm fine," he said, though his voice sounded distant. "But something's happening." The villain struggled against his grip. "Let go of me." "In a minute," Goku murmured, his focus intensifying. "I need to understand what this is." Midoriya returned, having secured the students. His analytical eyes immediately noticed the abnormal energy pattern. "Goku, your quirk is reacting to hers. Are you absorbing it?" "Not exactly absorbing," Goku replied slowly. "More like copying, learning. I can feel how her quirk works, the chemical composition, the secretion pathways, the neural triggers." He released her shoulder, stepping back as Yaoyorozu quickly secured the villain with specialized restraints. Goku stared at his palm, the acid burns already healing at an accelerated rate, another benefit of his Saiyan physiology. Slowly, deliberately, he concentrated on the new sensation flowing through his body. His undamaged hand began to glisten with a clear liquid that dripped onto the ground, creating small sizzling divots in the concrete. "Impossible," the villain whispered, eyes wide. "You can't copy quirks. That's not what One for All does." Midoriya was already documenting the phenomenon, his analyst's mind racing. "It's not copying in the traditional sense. One for All is designed to be transferred, not to absorb other quirks." But Goku's Saiyan biology might be creating a temporary imprint. Goku closed his fist, concentrating until the acid secretion stopped. "It's fading already. I can feel it slipping away." He looked up, meeting Yaoyorozu's concerned gaze with a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'm okay." Just wasn't expecting that. Before they could discuss further, pro heroes arrived at the scene, Present Mike and Midnight leading the response team. The third years efficiently took custody of the restrained villains while Midnight approached the second-year students with a mixture of concern and stern disapproval. "You three should be in the designated safe zone," she said, though her tone lacked genuine anger. "Although I can't argue with the results. Good work securing the villains and protecting the first years." Present Mike, finishing his assessment of the scene, called over, "Yo, Midnight. These three just saved us a heap of trouble. Let's cut them some slack, yeah." Midnight sighed, gesturing toward the exit. "Report to Recovery Girl immediately. Then straight to the principal's office for debriefing." As they walked away from the scene, Midoriya couldn't contain his scientific curiosity any longer. This changes everything we understood about how One for All interacts with your Saiyan biology. The temporary quirk absorption could revolutionize hero tactics if we can understand the mechanism. Always the analyst, Goku laughed, though his eyes remained thoughtful. Whatever it was, it didn't last long. "I can't produce acid anymore." "But you did," Yaoyorozu pointed out quietly. "Even momentarily. That's unprecedented." Goku flexed his healing hand, watching the skin knit together at accelerated speed. "What I don't understand is why now. I've touched plenty of people with quirks before. Maybe it requires direct quirk exposure," Midoriya theorized. "The acid was actively burning you, creating a biological exchange." Or perhaps emotional states are a factor, Yaoyorozu suggested. "You seemed particularly intense when she attacked me." Goku glanced at her, surprised by her observation. "You noticed that, huh?" A faint blush colored Yaoyorozu's cheeks again, but she maintained her composed demeanor. "I notice most things, Goku-san. Especially concerning my classmates' well-being." Recovery Girl's examination was brief but thorough. She tended to Goku's nearly healed hand with a kiss that accelerated the final stages of recovery, then checked Midoriya and Yaoyorozu for injuries they might have overlooked in the adrenaline of combat. "You're lucky this time," the elderly hero scolded, focusing particularly on Goku. "Acid quirks can cause permanent damage if they reach deep tissue. Your Saiyan healing factor won't regenerate a completely dissolved limb." "Yes, ma'am," Goku nodded contritely, though his eyes still sparkled with the lingering excitement of battle. The principal's office was unusually crowded when they arrived. Not only was Nezu waiting behind his desk, but All Might sat nearby in his diminished form, along with Aizawa and a tall, distinguished man Goku didn't recognize. "Ah, our young heroes arrive," Nezu greeted, his perpetual smile revealing nothing of his thoughts. "Please, sit down. We have much to discuss." All Might coughed slightly, his sunken eyes finding Goku's with a mixture of pride and concern. "Young son, I understand something unusual occurred during the villain encounter." Midoriya immediately launched into a detailed explanation of the quirk absorption phenomenon, complete with energy signature observations and theoretical mechanisms. Yaoyorozu occasionally interjected with precise details about timing and visible effects, her perfect recall complementing Midoriya's analysis. Throughout their explanation, the unknown visitor watched Goku with unnerving intensity. When the students finished their account, he finally spoke, his deep voice carrying the weight of authority. "Fascinating. It appears our hypothesis was correct, Nezu." The principal nodded, turning to the students. "Allow me to introduce Drive. Shoji Kazuma from the Quirk Research Institute. He's been consulting with us regarding Son Goku's unique physiology and its interaction with One for All." "Doctor." Shoji stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "Young man, what you experienced today confirms what we've suspected since you received One for All. Your Saiyan biology isn't just enhancing the quirk, it's evolving it." Goku blinked, his normally carefree demeanor replaced by genuine confusion. "Evolving it? How?" All Might leaned forward. "One for All has always grown stronger with each successor, accumulating power. But in all its history, it has never adapted to incorporate other quirks it encounters. Actually, Drive," Shoji corrected gently, "we don't know that for certain. Previous holders may have experienced similar phenomena but lack the scientific framework to document it. What makes your case unique, Son Goku, is both your alien physiology and the fact that we're monitoring these developments closely." Aizawa, who had remained silent until now, fixed Goku with his typical unimpressed stare. "The practical implications are significant. If Son can temporarily acquire quirks through direct exposure, it changes his tactical options, and presents new risks." "Risks?" Yaoyorozu questioned. Nezu's smile remained unchanged, but his tone grew serious. "Consider what might happen if villains discover this ability. Son Goku would become an even more valuable target than he already is. And there's the question of quirk compatibility. some quirks might interact dangerously with his physiology or with One for All itself. Dr. Shoji nodded agreement. Additionally, we don't know if repeated exposure to the same quirk might create a permanent adaptation rather than a temporary one. The evolutionary implications are profound. Goku had remained uncharacteristically quiet, absorbing the information. Finally, he asked the question that concerned him most. Does this change anything about how I use One for All? Am I still doing right by you? All Might. The former symbol of Peace's gaunt face softened. Young son, you've honored the legacy of One for All from the moment you accepted it. This new development doesn't change that, it simply gives you another tool to protect people. How you use that tool will determine its worth. Relief washed over Goku's features. Though he often maintained a carefree exterior, those who knew him best understood how seriously he took his responsibility as All Might's successor. For now, Nezu concluded, we'll enhance your training to include controlled exposure to various quirk types. Midoriya-kun, your analytical expertise will be invaluable in documenting these experiments. Yaoyorozu-san, your creation quirk offers unique testing opportunities if you're willing to participate. Of course, she responded immediately, sitting straighter. I'm happy to assist in any way possible. Excellent. Nezu clapped his paws together. Now, regarding your unauthorized intervention today, Aizawa's eyes narrowed slightly. School protocol clearly states that students should evacuate to designated safe zones during villain attacks. The three students tensed, preparing for disciplinary consequences. However, Nezu continued, your actions undoubtedly prevented casualties among the first-year students. The pro-hero response team has commended your efficiency and restraint, which is why, All Might added, rather than punishment, we're assigning you an additional project. The sports festival is approaching, and this incident has highlighted the need for improved emergency response protocols for students with combat-viable quirks. Aizawa handed each of them a tablet. You'll develop and present a revised emergency response system that incorporates upper-class students as secondary responders while maintaining appropriate safety parameters. Consider it both a consequence and an opportunity. As they left the principal's office, Midoriya was already muttering calculations and system parameters to himself. Yaoyorozu reviewed the project specifications with focused attention, mentally creating an organizational framework. Goku, however, was unusually quiet, flexing his fully healed hand repeatedly. Something wrong? Yaoyorozu asked, noticing his distraction. Not wrong exactly, he replied thoughtfully. Just processing. Everything's changing so fast. One for All, this new quirk absorption thing, our responsibilities as heroes in training. She regarded him with surprise. Beneath his typically carefree exterior, Yaoyorozu occasionally glimpsed depths that few others noticed, a contemplative side that contrasted with his battle-eager persona. Change isn't necessarily bad, she offered. Growth rarely occurs without it. Goku smiled, some of his usual brightness returning. You're right, and it's not like I've ever backed down from a challenge before. Speaking of challenges, Midoriya interjected, looking up from his tablet. We should establish a project timeline. The sports festival is only 3 weeks away, and if we're going to develop a comprehensive emergency response system, can we discuss it over food? Goku interrupted, his stomach growling loudly. That villain fight burned through breakfast. Yaoyorozu checked her watch. The cafeteria will be closed for security procedures after the attack. However, she hesitated briefly before continuing. My family's estate is nearby. Our chef could prepare something while we work. Really? Goku's eyes lit up. That would be amazing. Your family won't mind. My parents are overseas on business, she explained. And they've always encouraged me to collaborate with classmates, particularly those with exceptional abilities. The slight emphasis wasn't lost on either boy. It's settled then, Midoriya concluded, already adjusting their schedule. We'll head to Yaoyorozu's after classes to begin project planning. As they walked toward their afternoon classes, Goku fell into step beside Yaoyorozu. Hey, he said quietly, I never properly thanked you for having my back during that fight. Your timing with that neutralizing compound was perfect. It was nothing, she replied modestly. You would have done the same for me. In fact, you did, taking that acid attack directly. Goku flexed his healed hand again. That's different. I heal quickly. Nevertheless, she insisted, it was brave. Reckless, perhaps, but brave. They reached the classroom door, where other students were already gathering. Before joining them, Goku paused, his expression unusually serious. Yaoyorozu. Yes, when I touched that villain's shoulder and felt her quirk, it was scary. Not the power itself, but the feeling that I was changing. Becoming something different. He rarely admitted vulnerability, and the confession clearly cost him some effort. If I start changing more, becoming something else because of this quirk absorption thing. She understood his unspoken question. We'll help you through it. Midoriya with his analysis, and I. She straightened her shoulders slightly. I'll ensure you have everything you need. That's what friends do, isn't it? His trademark grin returned, lighting up his entire face. The best friends, he agreed, tail swishing with renewed energy as they entered the classroom together. The afternoon passed in a blur of lectures and training exercises, though none as eventful as the morning's villain encounter. News of the incident, and Goku's unusual quirk reaction, spree. Add through the school despite efforts to contain the information. By final period, even students from other classes were finding excuses to pass by Class 2A, hoping to glimpse the Saiyan who could potentially absorb quirks. As the final bell rang, Aizawa held Goku back briefly. The principal asked me to give you this, he said, handing over a small device that resembled a wristwatch. It's Daisy. GNED to monitor your quirk activity more precisely than standard equipment. Wear it at all times, including during sleep. Goku fastened it around his wrist, noting how it adjusted automatically to fit perfectly. Does it do anything besides monitoring? It has an emergency alert function if your quirk shows dangerous fluctuations, Aizawa explained. And it contains a suppression feature as a last resort. Though that requires remote activation from either myself, Recovery Girl, or the principal. Suppression. Goku frowned slightly. You mean it can shut down one for all? Not exactly. It creates a localized field that dampens quirk factor expression, similar to my erasure but without requiring direct line of sight. Aizawa's typically impassive face showed a hint of concern. It's a precaution, son. Not a restriction. Understanding the distinction, Goku nodded. Thanks, sensei. I appreciate everyone looking out for me. Outside the classroom, Midoriya and Yaoyorozu waited patiently. Together, the three made their way toward the Yaoyorozu estate, discussing their project along the way. As they walked, Goku occasionally glanced at his new monitoring device, wondering what other changes might be coming, and whether he was ready for them. What none of them noticed was the small drone following at a discreet distance, its camera focused exclusively on Goku. In a darkened laboratory across the city, a white-haired scientist watched the footage with intense interest, particularly the moment when the Saiyan's hand produced acid identical to the captured villain's quirk. Fascinating. Drive, Jero murmured, turning to where a blonde woman floated in a suspension tank, her partially mechanical body undergoing final modifications. It seems we've found the perfect test subject for you, number 18. The Saiyan's adaptive capabilities could be the key to completing your programming. Inside the tank, the woman's eyes remained closed, but monitoring equipment registered a spike in brain activity at the mention of the Saiyan, as if, even in suspended animation, something in her responded to the very concept of Goku. The scientist smiled thinly, adding notes to his research file labeled, Project, Evolution. The screen displayed a comprehensive profile of Son Goku, including power readings, known abilities, and genetic markers unique to his Saiyan heritage. Soon, Jero promised both himself and his creation. Very soon. Back at the Yaoyorozu estate, Goku stood awestruck before the massive traditional mansion nestled among perfectly manicured gardens. Despite his own unusual background, he'd never experienced such obvious wealth and privilege. You live here? He asked, unable to hide his amazement. This place is bigger than the entire mountain area where I grew up. Yaoyorozu looked slightly uncomfortable with his reaction. It's been in my family for generations. I realize it's somewhat excessive. It's incredible, Goku corrected with genuine appreciation. Like something from a historical film. As they entered the grand foyer, household staff greeted Yaoyorozu with formal bows, casting curious glances at her classmates, particularly Goku, whose tail and wild hair marked him immediately as non-human. Tanaka-san, She addressed the head butler. These are my classmates, Midoriya Izuku and Son Goku. We'll be working on a school project in the study. Could you have chef prepare refreshments? Sun-san has a particularly active metabolism. The butler bowed deeply. Of course, young miss. Will your guests be staying for dinner as well? Yaoyorozu glanced questioningly at her classmates. If it's not too much trouble, Goku replied, stomach already rumbling at the thought of food. No trouble at all, the butler assured them. Though his eyes lingered curiously on Goku's tail. The study proved to be larger than most apartments, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, comfortable seating areas, and a massive table that could accommodate 20 people. Holographic displays and computing terminals were seamlessly integrated into the traditional decor. This is perfect for project planning, Midoriya exclaimed, already connecting his tablet to the main system. Yaoyorozu activated the room's security protocols. These walls are soundproofed and electronically shielded. We can discuss the quirk absorption phenomenon without concern for eavesdropping. As they settled into work, household staff delivered an impressive array of refreshments, enough food to feed a small army, much to Goku's delight. Between bites of perfectly prepared dishes, they outlined their emergency response system while also documenting the morning's quirk absorption incident in meticulous detail. Based on my observations, Midoriya said, Cr. Eating a holographic model of Goku's energy patterns, the absorption occurred over approximately 3.2 seconds of direct contact. The quirk manifestation lasted roughly 47 seconds before completely fading. Yaoyorozu studied the model. The energy signature shows a distinct integration pattern here. She pointed to a swirling node where green and purple energies merged. It's almost as if 1-4-all created a temporary copy of the acid quirk's fundamental structure. Goku, who had been listening while demolishing his fifth plate of food, wiped his mouth before adding, it felt different from using 1-for-all. More instinctive, like my body already knew how to use the acid quirk once I had it. That aligns with your Saiyan learning adaptability, Midoriya noted, adding another layer to his model. You've always demonstrated accelerated technique acquisition, even before receiving 1-for-all. As the evening progressed, their work became increasingly detailed. Yaoyorozu created physical prototypes of emergency response equipment while Midoriya programmed simulation scenarios. Goku, whose strengths lay elsewhere, provided practical combat perspectives that neither of his more academically inclined classmates had considered. A tiered response system makes the most sense, he suggested, sketching a rough formation on a digital pad. First years evacuate no matter what, Econ years secure perimeters and provide support. Third years engage directly alongside pros if needed. Yaoyorozu nodded approvingly. That maintains safety protocols while utilizing available resources efficiently. We could incorporate specialized training modules for second years focused on support and evacuation assistance. The conversation eventually circled back to Goku's new ability, Th Midoriya proposing controlled experiments. If we could test various quirk types under laboratory conditions, he suggested, we might identify patterns in what transfers more effectively. I'm not sure I want to make this a regular thing, Goku admitted, his usual enthusiasm dampened. It felt invasive, somehow. Like I was taking something that didn't belong to me. Yaoyorozu regarded him thoughtfully. That's an admirable perspective. Many would view this ability as simply another power to exploit. It's not that I wouldn't use it to help people, Goku clarified. But there should be limits, boundaries. Before they could explore this ethical dimension further, Tanaka announced dinner was served in the main dining room. As they relocated to the cavernous space dominated by a table that could seat 30. Goku whistled in appreciation. Does your family really need a table this big? He asked innocently. Yaoyorozu's composed expression faltered slightly. My parents entertain business associates and hero society officials frequently. The size is practical for such occasions. Her tone suggested something deeper, perhaps loneliness in such a massive space, but Goku didn't press. Instead, he diverted the conversation to lighter topics as they enjoyed the elaborate meal prepared specifically with his Saiyan appetite in mind. After dinner, they returned to the study to finalize the day's work. Midoriya, ever the diligent student, had created a comprehensive project timeline extending to the sports festival. Yaoyorozu had produced physical prototypes. of communication devices tailored to their emergency response system. As evening deepened into night, Tanaka appeared to inquire about transportation arrangements. "Shall I have the car prepared to take your classmates home, young miss?" "That would be appreciated, thank you," she replied. While gathering their materials, Midoriya received a message on his phone. His expression shifted from surprise to concern as he read it. "Everything okay?" Goku asked. "It's from All Might," Midoriya explained. "The villains captured this morning have escaped custody. All pro-heroes are on alert." Yaoyorozu immediately accessed the mansion's security system. "I'll increase protocols here. My family's estate has defenses comparable to high-security government facilities." Goku's expression hardened, his carefree demeanor replaced by focused determination. "They won't try anything tonight. They'll regroup first, plan their next move." "How can you be sure?" Midoriya questioned. "Because that's what I do," Goku replied simply. "Strike when your opponent isn't expecting it, not when they're actively looking for you." The tactical assessment surprised both classmates, revealing again the strategic mind that existed beneath Goku's battle-loving exterior. "Nevertheless, I should get home," Midoriya decided. "My mother will worry with villain alerts active." As Tanaka prepared to escort them to the waiting car, Goku paused beside Yaoyorozu. "Will you be okay here alone? I know your security system is top-notch, but still." She smiled at his concern. "I'm hardly defenseless, Goku-san. My quirk allows me to create any non-living material or object, including weapons, if necessary. I know you can handle yourself," he assured her. "But if anything feels off, anything at all, call me immediately. I can be here in seconds with one for all speed." The genuine concern in his voice caused a faint blush to color her cheeks. "I appreciate your concern. The same applies to you. Especially given your new quirk development. You might be a particular target." Goku grinned, some of his usual confidence returning. "Let them try. I've been itching for a rematch with that strength villain anyway." Outside, Midoriya had already entered the car when Goku's monitoring device suddenly emitted a soft beep. Both Goku and Yaoyorozu glanced at it with concern. "Quirk fluctuation?" she asked quietly. Goku shook his head. "Doesn't feel like it. Maybe just a system check." The device beeped again, this time accompanied by a small holographic message. "Quirk echo detected, temporary resonance with previous absorption." Quote, "Interesting," Yaoyorozu murmured, examining the display. "It seems your system is still processing the acid quirk at some level, even though you can't actively use it anymore. Something else to report tomorrow, I guess," Goku sighed, though his eyes betrayed excitement rather than concern. New challenges always energized him, even potentially dangerous ones. As he turned to join Midoriya in the car, Goku suddenly paused, his tail stiffening, a reaction Yaoyorozu had learned indicated heightened awareness. "What is it?" she asked, immediately alert. Goku scanned the perimeter of the estate, eyes narrowing. "Thought I sensed something, an energy signature that felt artificial." After another moment of concentration, he relaxed slightly. "It's gone now. Probably nothing." Despite his dismissal, Yaoyorozu created a small scanning device from her palm, checking the frequencies used by surveillance equipment. "No active transmissions detected. Our security system would have identified any intrusion." Goku nodded, though uncertainty lingered in his expression. "Still, be extra careful tonight, okay?" "I will," she promised. "You do the same." As the car departed with both boys, Yaoyorozu remained on the front steps until it passed through the estate gates. The evening's events, from the villain attack to Goku's new ability to the escaped prisoners, had created a sense of impending change. Standing in the cool night air, she couldn't shake the feeling that they stood at the threshold of something momentous. Inside her laboratory across the city drive, Jero disconnected from the microscopic surveillance drone he'd recalled from the Yaoyorozu estate. The Saiyan had nearly detected it despite its advanced cloaking technology, impressive, though not entirely surprising given what they knew of his sensory capabilities. "His potential exceeds even my calculations," the scientist mused, turning to the suspension tank where Android 18 floated. "The compatibility markers are clear. Your cellular structure should resonate perfectly with his adaptive capabilities." On nearby screens, data from the day's observations compiled into complex models. The acid quirk absorption had provided invaluable insights into the mechanism by which Goku's unique physiology interacted with other quirk factors. The applications were nearly limitless, if properly harnessed. 2 more days, Gero promised his suspended creation. Your final calibrations will complete, and then we'll arrange your introduction to the Saiyan. One way or another. In the monitoring tank, Android 18's fingers twitched slightly, the first independent movement since her conversion began. The laboratory systems registered the anomaly immediately, prompting Gero to review her consciousness suppression protocols. What he failed to notice was the brief flicker of awareness that passed through 18's mind, a momentary glimpse of Goku's image on the laboratory screens, and with it, an emotion that wasn't programmed, curiosity. As Goku lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling of his small apartment, he flexed his hand repeatedly, the one that had produced acid hours earlier. Though the ability had faded completely, the memory of that power flowing through him remained vivid. It had felt both foreign and familiar, as if his body recognized something fun. A mental about quirk energy that his conscious mind couldn't quite grasp. The monitoring device on his wrist occasionally emitted soft beeps, tracking whatever residual effects lingered in his system. All Might had messaged both him and Midoriya, requesting a full report in the morning about any unusual sensations or dreams related to the quirk absorption. As sleep finally claimed him, Goku's loss. Conscious thought was of Yaoyorozu's concerned face as she'd watched him demonstrate the temporary acid quirk. Unlike others who had looked at him with excitement or scientific curiosity, her express Saiyan had held something deeper, concern for him as a person, not just as a fascinating quirk phenomenon. In his dreams, acid flowed between his fingers, changing color and consistency, sometimes purple, sometimes green, sometimes clear. The faces of his friends morphed and shifted, and somewhere in the background, a mechanical heartbeat pulsed with unnatural precision. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, The Creation's Heart. Dawn broke over UA High School, painting the training grounds in hues of amber and gold. Momo Yaoyorozu arrived precisely 43 minutes before classes began, early by most standards. Yet she knew she wouldn't be the first. True to expectation, a familiar silhouette moved through complex forms at the center of the field. Goku. He flowed from stance to stance with liquid precision, his movements blending techniques from across fighting disciplines that had no business being compatible. Watching him train was like witnessing physical poetry, raw power tempered by intuitive grace. His tail, that curious appendage that marked his alien heritage, maintained perfect balance as he executed a particularly complex aerial maneuver. She hesitated at the field's edge, reluctant to interrupt his routine. Unlike her methodical approach to improvement, cataloging weaknesses, researching solutions, implementing structured practice, Goku's training resembled something closer to meditation. Each movement flowed naturally into the next, his body solving physical problems without apparent conscious thought. The rising sun caught his profile, illuminating concentration etched into features usually animated by carefree enthusiasm. This contemplative Goku fascinated her more than his battlefield prowess ever could. "You can join me, you know." His voice startled her. He hadn't broken form or even looked in her direction. "How did you?" Energy signature. He completed a final sequence before turning toward her, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Everyone has one. Yours feels like potential. Like thousands of possibilities waiting to take form." Heat rose to her cheeks. "That's unusually poetic coming from you. Just because I enjoy fighting doesn't mean I can't appreciate other things." His characteristic grin emerged, transforming his features from intense to boyish in an instant. "Your quirk is amazing, Yaoyorozu. Makes sense your energy would feel that way." She approached, creating a small towel from her arm with casual ease and offering it to him. "Any further developments with the absorption phenomenon?" Goku wiped his face, nodding. "Had some weird dreams. All Might and the doctors ran tests this morning before dawn. They found trace elements of the acid quirk still in my system, even though I can't access it anymore." Fascinating. She unconsciously adopted her analytical posture, straight-backed, one hand touching her chin. The implications for quirk theory are substantial. If quirk factors can be temporarily transferred through direct contact. Yeah, the science guys were pretty excited. He shrugged, seemingly unimpressed by the revolutionary nature of his own ability. They're calling it Quirk Echo, for now. The way my Saiyan biology creates a temporary copy that fades over time. Momo considered this. The nomenclature is appropriate. Like an echo, it diminishes with each repetition until inaudible. Right. Goku stretched, his uniform jacket shifting to reveal the monitoring device still attached to his wrist. Anyway, enough about quirk science. You're here early for training, right? Want to spar? The question caught her off guard. While they'd trained in group settings, they'd never paired directly for combat practice. His fighting style was legendarily unpredictable, adapting mid-battle in ways that frustrated even pro heroes. I'm not sure I'd provide an adequate challenge, she admitted. My combat applications are primarily support-focused. Goku's eyes sparked with interest rather than dismissal. That's exactly why we should train together. My straight offensive approach against your tactical creation quirk, we'd both learn something new. Before she could formulate a response, the monitoring device on his wrist chimed softly. Goku glanced at it with mild annoyance. Another reading for the docs, he explained, tapping the interface. They're collecting data points on my energy fluctuations. Momo stepped closer, scientific curiosity overriding her usual respect for personal space. May I see the readings? He extended his arm without hesitation, allowing her to examine the complex data streaming across the small display. Unlike most students who might have been overwhelmed by the technical specifications, Momo analyzed the information with practiced ease, her exceptional intelligence processing the patterns with machine-like efficiency. Your baseline energy signature shows unusual oscillation patterns, she observed. Almost as if One for All is communicating with your Saiyan biology. Goku blinked in surprise. You can tell that just from these readings. Pattern recognition is fundamental to my quirk, she explained. Creating complex materials requires understanding molecular structures and energy states. These readings suggest a harmonization process between two distinct energy systems. A new voice interrupted their analysis. She's right, you know. Both turned to find Midoriya approaching, his notebook already open. Dark circles beneath his eyes suggested another night of minimal sleep, likely analyzing yesterday's events. Morning, Deku, Goku called cheerfully. You look terrible. Thanks, Midoriya responded dryly. I was up correlating your quirk absorption data with historical One for All manifestations. Yaoyorozu's assessment matches my conclusions. Your Saiyan energy and One for All are establishing a cooperative framework rather than competing for dominance. Momo nodded. Precisely. In conventional quirk theory, introducing a foreign quirk factor typically triggers an immune-like response. But these readings indicate integration, not rejection. Goku looked between them with amusement. You two should just write the research paper together and save the docs some time. Their conversation was interrupted by the school-wide announcement system. Principal Nezu's cheerful voice echoed across the grounds. Good morning, students. Please report to the main auditorium immediately for a special announcement. Attendance is mandatory. That means everyone, even those of you training before hours. Yes, I'm talking to you, son Goku. Goku laughed. Guess he knows my schedule. As they walked toward the auditorium, students from other classes converged along the same path. Many cast curious glances toward Goku. News of his quirk absorption had spread despite official attempts to contain the information. Some looks contained admiration, others, wariness. A tall student from Class 2B deliberately bumped Goku's shoulder as they passed. So now you're stealing quirks too. Not satisfied with just being All Might's pet project. Goku seemed unperturbed by the hostility. Morning to you too, Monoma. The copycat quirk user sneered. They should quarantine you for observation. Who knows what kind of mutations your alien biology might cause in the quirk gene pool. Momo stepped forward, her normally composed demeanor hardening. That's enough, Monoma. Your xenophobic implications are both scientifically unsound and morally reprehensible. Defending your boyfriend, Yaoyorozu. Monoma taunted. I thought you had higher standards than alien freaks. Before either could respond, Kendo appeared from the crowd, chopping Monoma on the neck with practiced efficiency. Sorry about him, she apologized as he collapsed. He's been especially irritable since hearing about your new ability, son. No worries, Goku shrugged. Can't blame him for being jealous. As Kendo dragged an unconscious Monoma away, Midoriya turned to Goku. You know, his copycat quirk might provide valuable comparison data for your absorption phenomenon. The mechanisms must be similar on some level. Maybe, Goku conceded, though his copies are instant and precise, while mine seem more evolutionary. Like my body's learning rather than just duplicating. They entered the auditorium, finding seats near the fro. NT is the massive space filled with students from all departments and years. The anticipation in the air was palpable. Special assemblies typically signaled major announcements or security concerns. Principal Nezu took the stage, his perpetual smile revealing nothing. Flanking him stood several pro-heroes including All Might in his diminished form, Aizawa looking characteristically disinterested, and, most surprisingly, Endeavor. The current number 1 hero following All Might's retirement. Thank you all for assembling so promptly, Nezu began. I have several announcements of significance. First, regarding yesterday's villain incursion, security protocols have been enhanced throughout the campus. Students should report any suspicious activities immediately to the nearest staff member. Murmurs spread through the audience. Multiple villain attacks targeting UA in recent months had created an undercurrent of tension despite the school's prestigious reputation. Second, Nezu continued, in light of recent events and to strengthen relationships between hero institutions, I am pleased to announce that UA will host an inter-academy championship tournament 3 weeks from today. The auditorium erupted in excited chatter. Unlike the sports festival, which was internal to UA, an inter-academy tournament would pit them against students from other hero schools across Japan and potentially internationally. Participating institutions include Shiketsu High, Ketsubutsu Academy, CI Academy, and for the first time, the American Hero Program from Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. This announcement triggered even louder reactions. Xavier's school had a controversial reputation for accepting students with unusual or mutation-type quirks often deemed too dangerous by conventional institutions. Endeavor stepped forward, his flame beard crackling with controlled intensity. This tournament will determine which academy is producing the most combat-ready heroes. As the current number 1, I expect UA to dominate the competition. Goku leaned toward Midoriya, whispering, foreign students mean unusual quirks we've never encountered before. This could be interesting. Especially with your new ability, Midoriya agreed. Though I doubt they'll let you compete if there's risk of quirk absorption during matches. Nezu raised his paws for silence. The tournament will feature both individual and team competitions across different tactical scenarios. Faculty will select representatives based on combat readiness, strategic capability, and quirk versatility. Aizawa stepped forward, his tired eyes scanning the student body. Practical assessment trials begin tomorrow. All students wishing to be considered for the tournament team must participate. BPR. Paired to demonstrate not just your quirk's raw power, but your tactical judgment and team compatibility. The assembly concluded with additional logistical details, after which students dispersed to their homerooms buzzing with excitement. Class 2A was particularly animated. As the top hero course, they expected to secure multiple positions on the tournament team. Bakugo slammed his desk with explosive enthusiasm. Finally, a chance to show those second-rate schools what real power looks like. It's not just about power, Iida reminded him, chopping the air with characteristic intensity. The principal specifically mentioned tactical judgment and team compatibility. Which means you're already disqualified, Todoroki observed dryly, earning snickers from several classmates and a murderous glare from Bakugo. Aizawa entered the classroom, silencing the chatter with his mere presence. Before we begin regular lessons, I have a supplementary announcement for this class specifically. He activated the holographic display, revealing complex tournament brackets. Given recent security concerns and the unique abilities of certain students, his gaze flicked briefly toward Goku. He faculty has implemented special participation protocols. Some of you will undergo additional assessment to determine appropriate tournament categories. Momo raised her hand. Does this relate to quirk interaction risks? Precisely. Yaoyorozu. Aizawa nodded. Students with quirks that could be affected by or affect others in unpredictable ways will be evaluated separately. Son, Midoriya, Todoroki, Bakugo, and yourself will report to Training Ground Gamma after classes today. Bakugo bristled. Why am I lumped in with these extras? Because your explosion quirk operates at variable OU. Chiput levels that could cause unintended damage under tournament conditions, Aizawa replied flatly. Unless you'd prefer to be excluded entirely. That silenced even Bakugo's protests. The remainder of the morning passed in a blur of lectures and practical exercises, though concentration proved difficult with tournament speculation dominating everyone's thoughts. During lunch, Goku's usual mount, ain of food provided the backdrop for intense strategic discussion among those selected for special assessment. They're clearly concerned about your quirk absorption ability, Todoroki stated, methodically consuming his cold soba. Physical contact is unavoidable in combat scenarios. Goku shrugged, halfway through his sixth bowl of rice. It's not like I can control it yet. Yesterday was the first time it happened. And I'm not even sure what triggered it specifically. My analysis suggests intense emotional states may be a factor, Midoriya offered. You absorbed the acid quirk after Yaoyorozu was threatened. All eyes turned to Momo, who maintained her composure despite the sudden attention. That's merely correlation. The sample size of one incident is insufficient for causal determination. Still, Midoriya persisted, emotional catalysts are common in quirk evolution cases. Your concern for Yaoyorozu's safety might have triggered adaptive mechanisms in your Saiyan biology. Bakugo snorted derisively. So Tailboy has to get all emotional to steal quirks. Pathetic. It's not stealing, Goku corrected, unusually serious. It's temporary copying, and the original user keeps their quirk intact. Big difference. The monitoring device on his wrist suddenly emitted a series of rapid beeps. Everyone at the table tensed as Goku examined the display with a frown. What is it? Momo asked, leaning closer. Energy spike, he explained. Been happening randomly since this morning. The docs think it might be aftershocks from yesterday's absorption. Midoriya was already scribbling notes. Fascinating. The quirk echo must be creating periodic resonance patterns in your energy signature, almost like quirk puberty, Bakugo interrupted mockingly. Congrats, why? Our alien body is having a quirk growth spurt. Despite the crude phrasing, Midoriya paused thoughtfully. That's actually not a terrible analogy. Quirk factors often experience developmental surges during adolescence. Your Saiyan physiology might be undergoing accelerated adaptation after the initial absorption experience. The afternoon classes passed with agonizing slowness for those awaiting the special assessment. When the final bell rang, Goku practically bolted from his seat, tail twitching with barely contained excitement. Finally, I've been itching for some real action all day. Momo gathered her materials with characteristic precision. This is an assessment, not a battle royale. They'll be evaluating our control and judgment, not raw power. Same difference, Goku grinned. Best way to show control is under pressure. Training Ground Gamma had been significantly modified since their last visit. The industrial labyrinth now featured specialized combat arenas, monitoring equipment, and what appeared to be quirk-dampening barriers around certain sections. All Might and Aizawa waited at the central platform, alongside a woman Goku didn't recognize, tall and stern, looking with specialized measurement equipment strapped to her arms. Welcome, young heroes, All Might greeted them, his diminished form still commanding respect despite its frailty. This is Dr. Ha Soom from the Quirk Research Institute, May's mother, for those familiar with our support department's most explosive student. The resemblance was subtle but unmistakable in the woman's pink-tinged hair and intense focus. She approached Goku first, scanners whirring as she circled him without greeting or introduction. Fascinating hybrid energy signature, she muttered, apparently to herself. Quote, Saiyan biological markers fully integrated with one-for-all quirk factor, yet maintaining distinct energy pathways. And the echo phenomenon. She tapped her scanner with obvious excitement. Incredible adaptive potential. All Might coughed lightly. Dr. Hatsume will be monitoring your quirk expressions during today's assessment to determine safe participation parameters for the tournament. Aizawa stepped forward. The assessment has 3 phases. Individual quirk demonstration, one-on-one combat application, and team scenario simulation. We'll begin immediately with individual demonstrations. Each student was directed to separate testing stations. Goku watched with interest as his classmates showcased their abilities under drive. Hatsume's meticulous measurement. Todoroki created increasingly precise temperature gradients. Bakugo demonstrated explosive velocity control, and Midoriya exhibited his analytical approach to quirk limitation circumvention. When Momo's turn came, Goku found himself particularly attentive. Unlike the raw power displays of others, her demonstration resembled a masterclass in precision engineering. Starting with simple materials, she progressed to creating increasingly complex items. First a perfect Matryoshka doll with intricate detailing, then sophisticated electronic components, culminating in a functioning miniature support robot that walked, scanned, and transmitted data. Dr. Hatsume's usual clinical detachment faltered visibly during Momo's demonstration. "The molecular precision is unprecedented," she murmured, adjusting her scanners. "Why? Oh, we're not just creating approximations, these are atom-perfect constructions." Momo inclined her head slightly, accepting the praise with dignified modesty. "I've been focusing on quantum-level creation control. It enables more efficient lipid consumption while improving structural integrity." Goku's admiration must have shown plainly on his face, as Midoriya nudged him with a knowing smile. "Impressed, always," Goku admitted without hesitation. "My quirk is all about power and adaptation, but hers, that's like being a universe builder. Creating something from nothing, that's real magic." When Goku's assessment turn arrived, Hatsume's excitement reached almost manic levels. She attached additional sensors to his monitoring device and positioned specialized equipment around the testing area. "We'll begin with baseline measurements," she instructed. "Power output at incremental percentages of 1 for all, if you please." Goku nodded, centering himself. Green energy crackled to life around his form, starting as a gentle aura at 5% and intensifying with each incremental increase. The familiar sensation of 1 for all flowing through his Saiyan biology felt like controlled HTNING, powerful yet somehow comforting in its familiarity. At 45%, the monitoring equipment began emitting warning signals. Dr. Hatsume adjusted frantically as Goku maintained perfect composure despite the surging power. "Remarkable control," All Might observed proudly. "When I first gave you 1 for all, we worried your Saiyan strength might make regulation impossible." Goku grinned through the energy field surrounding him. "Took me long enough to figure it out. Remember how many bones I broke that first month?" "How could we forget?" Aizawa commented dryly. Recovery Girl threatened to retire. Dr. Hatsume interrupted their reminiscence. "I'd like to test the upper threshold." "What's your current maximum sustainable percentage?" "About 70% for extended periods," Goku replied. "I can push to 85% for short bursts. But it strains my control." "Show me 70%, she requested, adjusting her equipment. The energy around Goku intensified dramatically as he channeled more power. The green lightning of 1 for all crackled more violently, intertwined now with subtle traces of something else, a reddish gold energy that seemed to emerge from his core rather than the external power of 1 for all. Dr. Hatsume's eyes widened behind her specialized goggles. "The energy synchronization is extraordinary. Your Saiyan biology isn't just containing 1 for all, it's harmonizing with it, creating a hybrid expression." The monitoring device suddenly emitted a sharp alarm. Goku felt a strange pulse run through his system, like an internal echo bouncing between his natural energy and 1 for all. Without warning, his right hand began secreting a clear liquid that sizzled when it dripped onto the ground. "The acid quirk," Midoriya exclaimed from the observation area. "It's manifesting again." Goku stared at his hand in surprise. "But it faded yesterday." "How?" "Emotional trigger, drive," Hatsume interjected, scanners working furiously. "Your power level crossing certain thresholds appears to reactivate dormant quirk echoes." "Fascinating." All Might approached cautiously. "Can you control it, young son?" Goku concentrated, focusing on the strange sensation. Unlike yesterday's uncontrolled manifestation, he could now feel the distinct energy signature of the acid quirk, separate from but temporarily interconnected with his own power. With careful mental adjustment, he reduced the acidity level until the secretion became harmless. "I think I've got it," he confirmed. "It feels more accessible this time. Less foreign." Dr. Hatsume was practically vibrating with scientific excitement. "The echo is integrating more fully with each manifestation. Your Saiyan adaptive biology is learning the quirk's fundamental structure." Aizawa's expression remained impassive, but his voice carried an edge of concern. The tournament implications are significant. If combat stress triggers quirk echo manifestations, I'll need specialized protocols. Goku finished, allowing his power level to decrease gradually. The acid secretion faded as his energy returned to baseline. Maybe quirk-resistant gloves during matches. That won't address the root issue, Aizawa countered. If emotional triggers or power thresholds activate the phenomenon, any intense combat situation could potentially cause unpredictable quirk manifestations. All Might placed a supportive hand on Goku's shoulder. We won't exclude you from participation, young son. We simply need appropriate safeguards. Dr. Hatsume finally looked up from her readings. I have a potential solution. My daughter has been developing quirk stabilization technology for students with control difficulties. With modifications, we could create specialized equipment that helps regulate quirk echo manifestations during tournament battles. The one-on-one combat assessment phase matched students against each other in controlled scenarios. Goku faced Todoroki first, their contrasting styles creating a spectacular display. Goku's adaptive close combat techniques against Todoroki's ranged temperature manipulation. During their exchange, Goku noticed Momo watching intently from the observation area, her analytical eyes tracking every movement. Unlike other observers who focused on the dramatic ice formations or Goku's impressive speed, she seemed to be cataloging the subtle tactical adjustments both fighters made throughout the match. When paired against Momo herself in the next round, Goku experienced an unexpected challenge. Her creation quirk, typically considered support-oriented, became devastatingly effective in her hands. Each time he adapted to one defense or counterattack, she would create something entirely different: specialized capture weapons, terrain-altering deployables, sensory disruption devices. You've been holding back during regular training, Goku observed, genuinely impressed as he dodged a precisely aimed capture net. Momo created a collapsible staff while simultaneously using smoke pellets from her opposite arm. Resource management is fundamental to my quirk. Showcasing full capabilities unnecessarily depletes lipid reserves. Well, I'm honored you're going all out against me, he grinned. Using one for all to accelerate beyond her tracking speed. She anticipated his movement pattern, however, deploying an electromagnetic pulse device that momentarily disrupted his monitoring equipment. The half-second distraction was enough for her to trap his foot with a rapidly expanding adhesive compound. Never assume direct combat is the only path to victory, she stated calmly. Creating what appeared to be a simple flare gun. Tactical positioning often outperforms raw power. Goku's grin widened as he channeled more of one for all, breaking free from the adhesive with raw strength. Unless the raw power comes with speed and experience. Their exchange continued for several more minutes, neither gaining decisive advantage. Goku purposely limited himself to 40% of one for all, partly to avoid triggering quirk echoes, but also to challenge himself tactically rather than overwhelming with pure power. When Aizawa finally called the match, both students were breathing heavily but smiling with mutual respect. As they exited the combat zone, Hatsume intercepted them, scanners still collecting data. Remarkable quirk compatibility index, she observed cryptically. Yaoyorozu's creation pathways and Sun's adaptive mechanisms show harmonic resonance patterns during interaction. Most unusual. Momo's composure faltered slightly. I'm not familiar with compatibility indexing in quirk science. New research area, drive. Hatsume explained absently, still reviewing readings. Certain quirks naturally synchronize during proximity, enhancing both us' capabilities through harmonic energy exchange. Yours and Sun's demonstrate unusually high synchronization potential. She moved away without further explanation, leaving both students slightly bewildered. Goku scratched the back of his head, a habit when confused or embarrassed. Any idea what that was about? He asked. Momo's scientific mind was already analyzing possibilities. Perhaps quirk expressions operate on complementary energy frequencies. Your adaptive capabilities and my creation processes might share fundamental mechanisms at the quantum level. Right. Goku nodded as if this perfectly clarified things. So basically, we make a good team. Her lips curved into a small smile. A simplified but not inaccurate interpretation. The team assessment phase created expected combinations. Goku paired with Bakugo, Momo with Todoroki, and Midoriya working solo as tactical coordinator. The scenario involved securing an objective while countering simulated villain attacks, requiring both combat proficiency and strategic coordination. Despite their personality differences, Goku and Bakugo developed an effective partnership, Goku's adaptability complementing Bakugo's raw offensive power. Similarly, Momo's creation abilities perfectly enhanced Todoroki's ranged attacks with specialized delivery systems and amplification devices. As the assessment concluded, the faculty conferred briefly before Aizawa addressed the students. Based on today's performance, all 5 of you qualify for tournament consideration. However, his gaze fixed on Goku, certain special conditions will apply in Sun's case. All Might elaborated. Young Sun will participate with specialized equipment designed by the support department to regulate quirk echo manifestations. Additionally, he'll be limited to 50% one for all output during standard matches to minimize unpredictable manifestations. Goku accepted these limitations without complaint. Makes sense. Last thing we need is me accidentally absorbing quirks mid-tournament. Dr. Hatsume approached with a new wristband to replace his monitoring device. This prototype includes both monitoring and suppression capabilities. It will alert you to potential echo triggers and can temporarily dampen manifestations if necessary. As the assessment concluded and students prepared to leave, Aizawa delivered one final announcement. The faculty has approved specialized training sessions for tournament preparation. You'll be assigned training partners based on compatibility assessments and quirk development needs. Distribution. I booted digital assignments to their school accounts. Goku checked his immediately, unsurprised to find Midoriya listed for tactical development sessions. Their long partnership made them natural training allies. What did surprise him was seeing Yaoyorozu assigned as his primary quirk control partner. Looks like we'll be training together after all, he mentioned as they walked toward the exit. Momo checked her own assignment. A flicker of something, satisfaction, anticipation, crossing her features before her composed expression returned. Dr. Hatsume's compatibility assessment likely influenced the pairings. My creation quirk offers controlled testing environments for your quirk echo phenomenon. Plus, Midoriya added, reviewing his own assignments, Yaoyorozu's analytical approach complements your intuitive learning style. Goku. She can help systematize what you discover through experience. Bakugo scoffed as he pushed past them. Just don't absorb Ponytail's quirk. Last thing we need is you creating random crap everywhere too. As they exited the training ground, Goku's new wristband suddenly emitted a different alert tone. Not the now familiar quirk echo warning, but Someth. Ing designated as unknown energy signature detected. All 5 students paused, instantly alert. After recent villain attacks, any anomalous energy reading warranted caution. Location. Todoroki asked tersely. Goku concentrated, extending his senses beyond normal human range, another benefit of his Saiyan heritage. Northeast perimeter, moving fast. Doesn't feel like any quirk I recognize. Midoriya immediately activated his emergency communicator. Alerting security. Everyone maintain position until it's gone. Goku interrupted, confusion evident in his voice. The signature just vanished. Like it was never there. Aizawa and All Might had noticed their concern and approached rapidly. Report. Aizawa commanded. Goku explained the brief energy detection while Midoriya forward. Dead the wristbands recorded data to security systems. All Might's sunken eyes narrowed with concern. This is the second anomalous energy detection in 2 days, he noted. First at young Yaoyorozu's estate, now here. Security footage shows nothing unusual, Aizawa reported after checking his device. Whatever it was, it evaded our perimeter systems. All Might placed a protective hand on Goku's shoulder. We should assume these detections are related to young Sun's new abilities. Villains would certainly be interested in quirk absorption capabilities. Momo stepped forward. The energy signature Goku detected at my estate last night had artificial characteristics. Could we be dealing with technology rather than a quirk? Aizawa's expression darkened. Support department should analyze the frequency patterns. If someone has developed technology that can mask itself from UA's security systems, I'll coordinate with Hatsume and Power Loader, All Might agreed. In the meantime, nobody travels alone. Especially those involved with the quirk echo research. As they left the campus under heightened security protocols, Midoriya departed with Todoroki toward their respective homes. While Bakugo predictably refused company, declaring he'd blast any stalker to oblivion. This left Goku and Momo walking together, both hyper-aware of their surroundings after the strange energy detection. "Think it's connected to yesterday's villain attack?" Goku asked, his normally carefree demeanor replaced by vigilant attention. Momo considered carefully. "The timing suggests correlation, but there's insufficient data for conclusive analysis. Whatever it is, it seems specifically interested in you." "Story of my life," Goku sighed. "Ever since receiving One for All, it's been one target on my back after another." They walked in contemplative silence for several blocks before Momo spoke again. "Your performance during assessment was impressive. Particularly your control during our combat scenario." "Thanks," he grinned. "Though you nearly had me with that adhesive trap. Your applications keep getting more creative." "I've been studying unconventional materials," she explained. "Most opponents expect metal weapons or simple restraints from my quirk. Chemical compounds and composite materials offer tactical advantages through unpredictability." "Smart," Goku nodded appreciatively. "That's always been your strength, outthinking opponents rather than overpowering them." A comfortable silence fell between them as they continued toward the train station. Unlike awkward pauses that sometimes plague teenage interactions, this quiet felt natural, two people comfortable enough with each other to appreciate wordless companionship. The peaceful moment shattered when Goku's wristband emitted the unknown energy alert again, louder and more urgent than before. Simultaneously, his Saiyan senses detected movement above them. "Get down," he shouted, tackling Momo sideways as something crashed into the pavement where they'd stood seconds earlier. Dust clouded the impact site momentarily before clearing to reveal a figure unlike anything they'd encountered before. Humanoid but clearly artificial, it resembled a combat android with exposed mechanical components integrated with what appeared to be biological elements. "Target identified," it stated in a flat, synthesized voice. "Son Goku. Saiyan-human hybrid. One for all quirk carrier. Absorption phenomenon detected." Goku pushed himself up, positioning himself protectively between Momo and the android. "Who sent you?" The machine's optical sensors focused on him with disturbing intensity. "Dr. Jero sends his regards. Your participation is requested for Project Evolution." "Never heard of him," Goku replied, channeling One for All through his system at 30%, enough for combat readiness without triggering quirk echoes. "And I'm not participating in anything." Momo had already created a Speciale Z electromagnetic pulse device behind Goku's cover. Synthetic humanoid with biomechanical integration, she assessed quietly. Likely vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption. The android's head rotated toward her with unnatural precision. Secondary target. Yaoyorozu Momo. Creation quirk. Tactical value. High. Acquisition authorized. "Stay behind me," Goku instructed, preparing to engage. "That's unnecessarily chivalrous," she countered, finalizing her EMP device. "We're both heroes in training." Before either could act, the android moved with shocking speed, crossing the distance between them in milliseconds. Its hand grasped Goku's wrist directly over the new monitoring device, injecting something through microscopic needles before he could react. Pain shot through Goku's arm, as unfamiliar energy surged into his system. The wristband alarm blared frantically as his quirk factor responded to the invasion, One for All's energy pattern destabilizing momentarily before his say. And biology rallied to counter the foreign substance. Momo didn't hesitate. She activated the EMP device, directing its concentrated pulse directly at the android's central processing unit. The Machin-E convulsed as electrical systems overloaded, releasing its grip on Goku and staggering backward. "System compromised," it stuttered, voice modulation failing. "Initiating emergency protocol." Goku shook his arm, trying to clear the strange sensation coursing through his veins. "What did you inject me with?" The android's damaged system sparked erratically. "Cellular harmonizer integration initiated. Project Evolution Phase 1 complete." Before they could detain it for questioning, the machine's chest cavity opened to reveal a pulsing energy core. Recognizing the imminent self-destruction sequence, Goku grabbed Momo around the waist and activated One for All at 60%, leaping to safety as the android detonated. The explosion rocked the street, leaving a small crater where they had stood moments before. Landing safely on a nearby rooftop, Goku set Momo down gently, his expression uncharacteristically grave. "You okay?" he asked, checking her for injuries. "I'm unharmed," she assured him, though her normally perfect posture showed subtle tension. "But you were injected with an unknown substance. We need to get you to Recovery Girl immediately." Goku examined his wrist where the injection had occurred. The skin showed no external damage, but beneath the surface, strange energy patterns pulsed along his veins, visible even to the naked eye as faint blue lines spreading slowly up his arm. "Whatever it is, my body's fighting it," he observed. "I can feel my Saiyan cells treating it like an invasion." Momo created a specialized medical scanner from her arm, passing it over the affected area. "The energy signature is unlike anything in my database. It appears to be a hybrid technology, part mechanical, part biological, with distinct quirk-like properties." She activated her emergency communicator, alerting UA security and medical staff while providing their location and a preliminary situation report. Her efficiency in crisis reflected years of training, methodical, thorough, and remarkably calm despite the circumstances. As they awaited emergency response, Goku's condition deteriorated rapidly. The strange energy continued spreading through his system, now reaching his shoulder and causing visible discomfort. "It's attacking one for all," he explained through gritted teeth. "Feels like it's trying to separate it from my natural energy somehow." Momo's composed facade cracked slightly, genuine concern breaking through. "Focus on your breathing. Regulated oxygen intake might help your cells resist the foreign agent." Goku complied, focusing on the meditative breathing techniques All Might had taught him for quirk control. To Momo's surprise, it seemed to help. The visible energy spread slowed, then stabilized around his shoulder. "It's working," he confirmed, relief evident in his voice. "Whatever this stuff is, it responds to my mental state. When I focus on harmonizing my energies instead of fighting the invasion." Understanding dawned in Momo's eyes. Of course, if it's designed to interact with quirk factors, emotional and mental states would influence its behavior. The android called it a cellular harmony. "Zir, perhaps it's meant to synchronize with your unique biology rather than damage it." "Doesn't make me feel any better about being a lab rat," Goku grimaced, maintaining his focused breathing. "This drive, Gero person clearly knows a lot about me." The android specifically mentioned the absorption phenomenon. Momo's analytical mind connected pieces rapidly. "The timing is suspect. Your new ability manifests yesterday, and today a specialized android appears with technology designed to interact with your specific physiology." "Someone's been watching me," Goku concluded grimly. "Probably for a while." Emergency services arrived minutes later, a specialized UA medical team led by Recovery Girl herself, accompanied by Aizawa and Dr. Hatsume, who had apparently remained on campus after the assessment. Dr. Hatsume's scientific detachment vanished at the sight of the energy patterns coursing through Goku's arm. "Extraordinary," she breathed, scanners already collecting data. "The cellular AR integration is unlike anything I've encountered. This technology is decades beyond current support equipment science." Recovery Girl was less impressed and more concerned. "Save your scientific admiration for later, Hatsume. This boy needs treatment, not analysis." As medical staff established a containment field around Goku, Momo provided a detailed account of the android encounter to Aizawa. His typically impassive expression darkened progressively as she described the machine's capabilities and statements. "Dr. Gero," he repeated. "The name is vaguely familiar. I'll have intelligence run a search immediately." Dr. Hatsume looked up from her readings. Gero was a theoretical quirk scientist before disappearing from academic circles 15 years ago. His research focused on artificial quirk replication through technological means, creating machines that could mimic quirk expressions. "Seems he succeeded," Goku commented dryly as medical staff attached monitoring equipment to his affected arm. Recovery Girl completed her initial examination with a troubled expression. "Whatever this substance is, it's integrating with your cellular structure rather than damaging it. I can accelerate your body's natural adaptation process, but removing it entirely might cause more harm than the injection itself." "So what? I just live with it." Goku asked incredulously. Doctor. Hatsume adjusted her glasses. For now, yes. My preliminary analysis suggests this harmonizer is designed to enhance your quirk absorption capabilities rather than harm you. It's essentially upgrading your system, without consent, of course, which makes it highly unethical despite the fascinating technological implications. Aizawa's communicator chimed with an incoming security alert. Campus security foe. Owned android components matching Yaoyorozu's description near training ground beta. It appears to have been observing today's assessment before confronting you. The energy signature I detected earlier, Goku realized. It was collecting data on my quirk expressions during testing. As medical staff prepared to transport Goku back to UA's medical facility, he caught Momo's hand. Thank you, he said with genuine gratitude. Your quick thinking with that EMP device probably saved us both. Hero partners support each other, she replied simply, though a faint blush colored her cheeks at the unexpected contact. Still, he insisted, most people would have panicked facing an unknown android. You created exactly what we needed in seconds. Something shifted in her expression, a momentar. Why vulnerability beneath her composed exterior? I was concerned for your safety, she admitted quietly. The creation quirk responds to emotional clarity and focused intent. Your well-being provided both. Their moment of connection broke as medical staff completed transport preparations. Before releasing her hand, Goku added, our training sessions just got a lot more interesting, huh? Despite the circumstances, a small smile curved her lips. Indeed, though perhaps with fewer combat androids next time. As they departed for UA's medical facility, neither noticed the microscopic drone hovering at the edge of the explosion site, recording everything. In his laboratory across the city, Drive, Jero reviewed the footage with calculating satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, he noted in his research log. The harmonizer has successfully integrated with the Saiyan's unique biology. Cellular reconstruction is proceeding according to parameters. He turned to the suspension tank where Android 18 floated. Her development now in final stages. Your brother performed admirably in his collection task, though his self-destruction was unfortunate. No matter, he served his purpose. On monitor screens throughout the laboratory, Goku's cellular structure displayed in real time as the harmonizer spread through his system. Unlike the visible blue energy at the injection site, the deeper integration occurred at the microscopic level, Saiyan biology and one-for-all energy pathways subtly reconfiguring to accommodate the new technology. Soon, Jero promised his unconscious creation. Once the cellular harmonizer fully integrates with his system, you'll be able to establish a direct connection to the absorption phenomenon. Imagine it, unlimited quirk adaptation capabilities shared bedway. Perfect artificial intelligence and Saiyan evolutionary potential. In the suspension tank, Android 18's fingers twitched again, more purposefully this time. Beneath closed eyelids, rapid movement suggested dream-like activity. The monitoring systems registered increased brain function in areas associated with independent thought and emotional processing, developments that went unnoticed as Jero focused on Goku's cellular changes. Had he observed more carefully, he might have noticed the first signs of something unexpected developing in his supposedly controlled creation, the beginning of something that would eventually be recognized as free will. At UA's medical facility, Goku lay in a specialized containment bed as recovery girl and doctor. Hatsume monitored the harmonizer's integration. The blue energy had spread throughout his right side now, though it had faded from visibility on the surface, continuing its work at the cellular level. All Might sat beside his successor, concern evident in his gaunt features. How are you feeling, young son? Weird, Goku admitted. Not painful anymore, just different. Like my quirk is reorganizing itself. Doctor, Hatsume checked readings on specialized equipment. That's precisely what's happening. The harmonizer is creating new pathways between your natural Saiyan energy and One for All, essentially optimizing their interaction. Is that dangerous? All Might asked sharply. Not inherently, she replied, adjusting settings. In fact, it might eventually enhance his control and efficiency. The concerning aspect is the unauthorized modification of his quirk expression by external technology. The ethical implications are troubling, regardless of potential benefits. Recovery Girl applied her healing quirk, accelerating Goku's cellular adaptation. Your Saiyan healing factor is remarkable, she observed. It's not rejecting the harmonizer, it's incorporating it as if recognizing beneficial properties. Momo, who had Ned nearby despite staff suggestions that she return home, approached with a specialized device she'd created. I've developed a harmonic resonance scanner calibrated to the energy signature. It might provide more detailed information about the integration process. Dr. Hatsume accepted the device with evident approval. Impressive engineering, Yaoyorozu. Your creation quirk continues to exceed expectations in practical applications. As they continued monitoring Goku's condition, Aizawa entered with Principal Nezu, both wearing grave expressions. We've identified Drive, Jero, Nezu announced without preamble. Formerly the leading researcher in artificial quirk replication before his funding was cut due to ethical concerns. He disappeared from public record 15 years ago after his research into creating synthetic quirk mimicking organisms was universally condemned. Aizawa continued. Intelligence reports indicate he established a private laboratory in an unknown location, AUKUS. Ionally surfacing to acquire specialized equipment or research materials. Several missing persons cases have been tentatively linked to his activities, individuals with rare or powerful quirks who disappeared without trace. And now he's targeting Goku, All Might concluded grimly. The quirk absorption ability would be invaluable to someone researching artificial quirk replication. Goku absorbed this information with uncharacteristic seriousness. The android mentioned Project Evolution, and called the injection, Phase 1. Whatever Jero's planning, this is just the beginning. Momo, WHO, had been analyzing the situation with her methodical mind, spoke up. The android's technological sophistication suggests significant resources and advanced facilities. Dr. Jero must have substantial backing, financial, technological, possibly even political. Nezu nodded. A concerning assessment, Yaoyorozu, and likely accurate. We're implementing enhanced security protocols effective immediately. Son Goku will remain under observation until we fully understand the harmonizer's effects and purpose. What about the tournament? Goku asked. It's only 3 weeks away. Your participation will depend on medical clearance. Recovery Girl stated firmly. I won't authorize combat activities until we're certain this technology poses no danger to yourself or others. Goku looked disappointed but nodded understanding. His gaze drifted to Momo, who had been constantly at his side since the attack. Despite the circumstances, he couldn't help but appreciate her unwavering support, both her analytical contributions and her simple presence providing comfort in uncertainty. As night fell and medical staff continued monitoring, Momo finally prepared to leave. I should return home, she said reluctantly. My parents will be concerned. Thanks for staying, Goku said sincerely. Having a friend here made this whole thing less terrifying. Something flickered in her expression, a brief moment where her composed facade seemed to waver. Of course, that's what friends do for each other. As she turned to leave, Goku called after her. Our training sessions start tomorrow, right? Assuming I'm not still glowing blue. She paused at the doorway, a small smile forming. I've already prepared a specialized regimen focused on quirk energy harmonization. Be prepared for rigorous exercises. Wouldn't expect anything less from you, he grinned. After her departure, Goku settled back against the medical bed, reflecting on the day's events. From tournament announcements to OID attacks to mysterious injections, his life had certainly never lacked excitement since receiving One for All. Yet somehow, amid all the chaos, what lingered most prominently in his thoughts was the way Momo had immediately created exactly what they needed in crisis, her calm competence a perfect counterbalance to his improvisational fighting style. A perfect team, he murmured to himself, aware that the harmonizer in his system pulsed slightly stronger at the thought, as if responding to the emotional connection forming in his consciousness. Across the city, Android 18's eyes opened fly in her suspension tank, the first moment of true consciousness since her conversion began. Through the fluid and glass, she observed Drive Jero working at his computers, unaware of her awakening. For just seconds, she was truly herself, aware, questioning, and increasingly doubtful of her creator's intentions. As automated systems detected her consciousness spike and administered suppressants, Last thought before returning to artificial sleep centered on the image displayed on Jero's main screen, a wild-haired young man with a tail and determined eyes. Something about him resonated with emerging sense of self in ways her programming couldn't explain. The connection had begun, just as Jero had planned, though perhaps not in the way he intended. Chapter 2 End. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.